I want to take some time to show you that Tracy Martin is an advocate for senseless violence. Now, before you go get your panties in a wad, hear me out. He's going to say this out of his own mouth. Let's go.
17 months since 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was shot and killed, and 5 days since George Zimmerman was found not guilty of second-degree murder.
All right. Did you just notice what he just said? He just said 17 and 5. 17 and 5 is 22. 22, those are Masonic numbers. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know about the numerology, but I've began to understand something. And that is the fact that the gentleman that you see right here, the one that we call George Zimmerman, his name is not George Zimmerman. Now, I haven't figured out what his name is quite yet, but I'm going to show you, without a doubt, in these next few minutes, that this entire case is a hoax. Let's go.
A verdict that's led to an ongoing protest in cities around the country and new debates about race and guns in this country.
All right. Now, before we get on to hearing Tracy Martin say what he's going to say, and hearing Sabrina Fulton, and seeing that snake, also known as Ben Crump, Barack Obama, yes, the Jesuit Barack Obama, met with about 300 celebrities a year ago in a little secret meeting. It was secret, but it wasn't that secret because it leaked to the press. And during this time, he had the opportunity to get together with all of the singers, all of the actors and actresses, and he told them, hey, look, we got this Trayvon Martin psyop that's going to be running on the news. We're going to be, publicizing a trial and everything. We're going to really blow it up. So I want you to play your part. Stevie, I want you to protest. Hey, Spike Lee, I want you to do something. Hey, Beyonce, hey, I want you to do something. Hey, football players, the like, you name it. They're all in on this hoax. And the joke's on you, people. Let's go.
Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton are Trayvon Martin's parents. Javaris Fulton is his brother, and Ben Crumpet.
All right. Now, they have him on the show as a prop. During this entire interview, they did not ask him one question. If you're telling the truth, why do you need to have your family attorney here as if you are incapable of saying what needs to be said? Or as if you are incapable, or you are incapable of just being honest and just shooting from the cuff and say, hey, these are my grievances, this is what I didn't like, or whatever. Why do we have him here? This is what you guys have to understand. I want you to start seeing how they operate.
Is their attorney. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
We haven't heard, so what's your reaction? It's 5 days now since the verdict. What's your reaction?
Still shocked, still in disbelief. We felt in our hearts that we were going to get a conviction. We thought that the killer of our unarmed child.
Now, notice that he's using the word killer. Okay? Now, you're not supposed to be able to say that because the courts have found that he's not guilty of killing. Okay? Or shall I say murdering. He was not found guilty of any wrongdoing, which you knew that they wouldn't find any wrongdoing anyway, and so did you. Okay, and everybody else who's have any ounce of brain would know that. But let him continue to tell you what he thinks.
Was going to be convicted of the crime that he committed.
You say shock and disbelief. Ms. Fulton, reasonable doubt is something we're hearing from some of the juries. Do you understand, jurors, do you understand how they might have found reasonable doubt?
Of course not. She is going to continue to tell you that she doesn't know how they could think that, okay? Although there are some reports that were out that was saying that he was getting kicked out of her home. Okay? Now, I don't know if these are true or not, but I'm beginning to not believe them at all. And I believe that she was not even aware of where the child was. So I believe that both of these parents are here and they're commenting about a situation that they really don't know anything about, but they want to convince you that they do. Let's go.
I don't understand if they were looking at it from Trayvon's point of view because he was a teenager. He was scared. He
Here it goes with that. He was scared. Okay? But according to some reports, I'm not going to say that they are true or not, he had punched a bus driver. He had punched and beat up the kid at school who had snitched on him for selling weed at school. Doesn't sound like a scary type of child. And at 6'2", looking at George Zimmerman, I don't think he was afraid at all. Let's go.
did run. As far as if he ran home or not, I mean, if somebody is chasing me, I don't think I would run home and bring them to my house.
Okay. But according to the official timeline story, which I know is all false, Diddy claims that he took off running and had almost gotten back to Brandy Green's place and began to walk fast. So she says whether or not he had went home or not doesn't really matter because he was afraid, and why would he ever want to let George Zimmerman know where he lived? It's total bull. Total bull. Right? But she's going to continue to deny it. And as I said before, they have him here, and he's just a prop. He's so that you will look at him and see that Trayvon looked like him. But from all of the creative photos and the Photoshop photos that I've been able to see of the character that they have created of Trayvon Martin looked nothing like him. Okay? He looked more like a thug. There's no other way to say it. Let's go.
We have heard now from juror B37, and she's told us some things about what went on in that deliberation room and what they were thinking during the trial. She was asked if she thought that George Zimmerman racially profiled Trayvon. She said no. She was asked if she thought race played a role in this tragedy. She said no. What's your reaction to that?
Obviously, anytime you have a person that makes an assumption that a person is up to no good, there's some type of profile in there.
Anytime you make an assumption that a person is up to no good, there's some type of assumption there. So what old Baldy is saying, hey, don't profile anybody. If a guy is coming towards you with a machete and he's screaming, I hate you, I hate you, he's saying, you're not supposed to profile that guy. You're not supposed to pass judgment on that guy. That guy may be coming to give you a nice hug with his machete. You don't know. This is what he's telling you. He's talking to the dumbed down people that believe the lies that he has told. And that's the reason why he can't look you in the eye. He has to look down and think about, okay, what am I going to make him believe now? But let's go.
Was he racially profiled? I think that if Trayvon had been white, this wouldn't have never happened.
No. If this story is actually true and based on facts, if you're wearing a hoodie and if you look like a thug creeping through the neighborhood up to no good, and if you look as if you're kind of looking in to see if you can see people in a situation where they're not able to see you, if you're walking around in the rain, which is the best time to go and scope out places, that's someone having common sense and noticing you. He wants everybody to be up in arms because somebody used common sense, which I still don't believe the entire story is actually true, because I'm having a hard time finding the identity of these people. Him also. Sabrina Fulton also. There's no way she went to college with the way she talks. But let's go.
Obviously, race.
This from the prosecution.
Now, obviously, race is playing some kind of role. No, it's not. You want it to be some type of role because your case is weak. And in fact, in a few minutes, Mr. Crump is going to butt in and he's going to state that. But let's go. Come on, Matt.
Ben, I'll let you talk in 1 second. This from the prosecution during their presentation. Quote, this case is not about race. This is about right and wrong. What if Trayvon Martin, it was Trayvon Martin who shot and killed George Zimmerman, what would your verdict be? That's how...
I just wanted to point out that this guy sucks as a prosecutor. He absolutely sucked. He thought his crap didn't stink, but he looked like a liar. He was stretching everything he had to say. But this right here wants everybody to flip it around. Everybody wants to say, "Hey, well, you know what? White kids don't get profiled. They can go and do different things like that." Yeah. Now I'll be the first person to tell you that. Yeah, white kids do crimes also. But there's also a such thing as called being able to profile them as well. I can see a Caucasian kid and I can tell if he's up to no good just the same way I can see a Asian kid that may not be up to no good, or a Hispanic kid or whatnot. Everybody is allowed to profile. Profiling is something that all people do. It's natural. It's how you stay alive. And they're saying you cannot use common sense. How dare you? Use your brain. Let's go.
You know it's not about race. That's from the prosecution. Do you think that had an impact on this jury?
I think that they cut down to the heart of the matter, Matt. If the roles were reversed, what would the verdict have been? And jurors...
All right. I'm going to answer your question, Weasel. If the roles had been reversed, what would the verdict have been? If George Zimmerman was walking through that neighborhood and did not live there, and if Trayvon Martin was a 28-year-old neighborhood watch guy looking out for the community and had started to notice George Zimmerman and had called the police on George Zimmerman and had been attacked by George Zimmerman and had his gun on him, Trayvon Martin, with the roles reversed, had every right to shoot George Zimmerman if he felt that his life was in danger. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that that is what happened, but according to this story, if I were to play along and act like everything that they're saying is true, just common sense lets us know who's telling the truth and who is not. How many times have you seen George Zimmerman's parents talk to any media with an attorney next to them? Never. Now, the fact that they know law and, they're ex-judges, that has a little bit to do with it, but it's a clear indicator of who's telling the truth and who's not. But let's let him keep going, because he's going to really expose some truth of what's really going on here.
Zimmerman, the defense played that witness who said her place had been burglarized by an African-American teen. So in some way they tried to suggest that this allowed for any black man walking through that neighborhood, the neighborhood watch could profile and follow him, and that's not right.
Hold on. Now, he's trying to make this weak argument that you're not supposed to notice what the burglars look like. You're supposed to be colorblind. You're not supposed to profile. You're not supposed to remember the fact that these burglars had hoodies on, that these burglars wore certain types of clothing, that these burglars had these types of scully caps on, that these burglars smelled like this. You're not supposed to notice any of this common sense stuff that any person is supposed to be able to remember. He's trying to tell you that every single black kid is profiled unnecessarily all the time. And the reason why they're profiled is because somebody wants to come through and shoot them. When in reality, blacks are much more likely to attack or steal. I'm talking about the young ones, probably up to about 21 years old, all right? Maybe even older if they're career criminals. They're much more likely to attack someone, or they're much more likely to steal if they don't have parents in their life, as these two were not in Trayvon Martin's life, okay? If we want to go on the information that they're feeding us, okay? So his argument makes no sense at all.
Let me ask it in a different way then. Do you, as Trayvon's parents, think that the prosecution handled the issue of race in a proper way during the presentation of this case?
An impossible question. Race had nothing to do with it, Matt. What does race have anything to do with self-defense? It's asking everyone in America to say, hey, put on those rose-colored goggles. You do know that a black person is able to hit you 25 times and nothing should happen to you. Now, if a white person is to hit you, everybody is supposed to bring up slavery and everybody's supposed to say, ooh, you bad white person, you hit that black person. You better apologize. You better go make a public apology. You better go call a press conference because you did something wrong to that black person. Ooh. I told you about the 8th grader mentality. This is it. Again. Let's go.
Legal questions, man. I think it's hard for them. They were parents wanting justice, and the
Well, let me
prosecutors
turn
have
it in this way,
strategy.
though. Do you feel, were you happy with the way the prosecution handled the case in general? Do you have any concerns about that?
We were happy they.
Hold on. See? He's asking them a question. And here this weasel cuts in again. And I can't wait to expose to you what he says.
The case, man. A lot of prosecutors wouldn't even touch the case, so we.
See, a lot of prosecutors wouldn't even touch the case. Did you hear what he said? The original prosecutor did not take the case. In fact, the original judge didn't even want to take the case. She said, oh, yeah, my husband's a legal analyst at CNN and whatnot. She didn't want to take the case either. That's why she jumped off of it right quick. You had to go get your special prosecutor, the worst prosecutor in the country, Angela Corey, who will be brought up on charges and who will go to prison. Watch. Let's go.
On Ms. Corey's office for bringing the case, a lot of people said no.
Let me ask you more about Ether.
A lot of people said no, and he's looking like that's great. It's a great thing that a lot of people said no to my bullcrap, but we're gonna be so thankful to Angela Corey and her corrupt behind that she took our lies and she did something with them. See how he's looking? Like he's done something. He's there to protect his interest, which is several lies that he has told. He's going to prison also.
37, the juror who said that when that 911 tape was played and those much disputed cries for help that took place before the shot that killed your son, she said she was sure that the voice crying for help on that tape was George Zimmerman's voice.
And they know too. Look how she's looking. He knows too. These people need to just toss in their coins and say, hey, you know what? We bow out. We've already made 10 million bucks already in donations. We got a foundation set up. We just want some privacy. We need to be left alone. But they won't. And this is what that greed is going to do to them. It's going to have them to get themselves in a lot of trouble. But let's go.
I totally disagree.
I totally disagree. I totally disagree because I've already said that it wasn't his voice. I already had 2 police officers to tell on me and say I said it wasn't his voice already. So how are you going to believe anything that this guy says after he's already been shown to be a liar in court? If we want to call it a court, okay? I think a lot of things about the court were kind of fishy, especially that medical examiner. But let's go.
Can only make that assumption because she may have heard George Zimmerman speak in the court. She never had a chance to hear Trayvon's voice. We know in our hearts that was our child screaming for help.
Ms. Fulton, here's something Mr. Crump said. After the jury was selected, It's important that they know, meaning the jurors, Trayvon Martin's parents have put their faith in the justice system. They're praying the justice system doesn't fail them. They want justice for their son. Do you think the legal system failed Trayvon?
I think it failed Trayvon to a certain degree.
To a certain degree. Now, watch what she talks about. She's going to explain this degree. Pay attention to what she says.
I think we let the process take its course. We didn't get the verdict that we were looking for because we wanted him to be held accountable. Our focus has continued to change. I mean, first it was for.
Our focus has continued to change. And she's going to tell you that all she wanted was an arrest. Now all she wanted was a conviction. Now, since she didn't get the conviction, now she wants the federal government to get involved. Really? Whatever all things considered, you're trying to get somebody put in prison that if everything is the way it's supposed to be, which is, I'm really having a hard time believing it, you want this man to be held responsible with jail time, with some type of monetary settlement, because he had to defend himself from your son? Is this really how dumbed down the people are, that they are allowing this type of message to be preached to them? That, hey, no matter what the court says, we want you to ignore the court. They're saying that no nonviolence, not justice, but in actuality, these people are for lawlessness. She stands for lawlessness. In her subtle way, in her nice, unassuming way, nobody suspects her. Everybody just thinks, oh, we just need to give honor to her because she lost her son. Reportedly. Okay? We still haven't seen the body, haven't seen the grave site, haven't seen the death certificate. If anybody can produce any photos of the funeral, of him dead, truly dead in this casket, I really would like to see it.
The arrest. Then it was for a conviction. So now, we moved on to a different focus. But yes.
And now we moved on to a different focus. And what's that focus? Watch.
I think we were disappointed.
Would you say anything to the jurors? Do you have anything you'd like to say to them? Obviously, they tried their hardest. But would you like to say something to them?
I really don't have anything personal to say. I just didn't understand how can you let the killer of an unarmed child go free.
Okay. This is what you have to understand. And you already knew this anyway, because it took you 3 days to be able to identify the body. You told a lie about that too. But all good things considered, if you knew that the child had violence problems, this is considering that everything that has been reported is true. I doubt these things. If you already knew that he had a violence problems, that he was punching a bus driver, he had been in jail, he had been suspended for beating up a kid who had snitched on him, and he was fighting people all the time. He was getting into fights. He had been in a fight that day that he was supposedly shot and killed. How are you saying that you don't see how they were able to see that if George Zimmerman actually did have injuries, that it was not due to your son beating him up? Come on, Tracy, tell the truth.
What would your verdict would have been if had it been your child?
See, and that's what they want to do. They want everybody who has a child to get into an 8th grader's frame of mind and say, man, I'd do anything for my kid. Man, nobody better touch my kid. Shoot, I can't let my kid go to the store by themselves. See, that's what he wants to do. He wants to play on that part of your brain, the very base, ignorant part of your brain that says, oh, I want to protect my kid. But if he really wanted to protect his kid, he would have been with his kid. He wouldn't have allowed his kid to just roam around and do whatever. That's a whole nother video. Let's go.
and there's no winners in this case at all. But it's just I want them to put themselves in our shoes.
Streets in some cities around the country have been filled with protesters since this verdict was handed down on Saturday night, Ms. Fulton. Sometimes those protests have had violence associated with them. What would you say to people who feel the need to voice
Foolishness. Agitators. Getting the people all whipped up. What is she going to say about this? Let's watch and see what she says.
their opinions about this case and this verdict? What would you say to the people in the streets?
Well, we have always maintained to do things decent and in order, and we think the protest should be peaceful protests. We're not saying for them not to protest because they have a right to protest.
Just make sure you let them know that they're not able to protest outside of courts, okay? Or you're going to be working for your buddy, old Barry, and you're going to be allowing them to get locked up, okay? So, which is what all of this is about anyway. They want unrest, okay? These people want a race war. They're not going to be satisfied until they can get a race war in the name of Trayvon Martin, okay? Do some research on him. I have my doubts about this. Let's go.
They have a right to be heard, but we just want to make sure that it is peaceful, that nobody gets hurt, that nobody gets arrested, that you don't damage your own property.
You're a family with...
That you don't damage your own property, but you can damage some other people's property, okay? As long as you're doing it in the honor of this kid that I wasn't spending time with, that I kicked out of my house, if these reports are true, 3 times in a 4-month span. It's amazing how people take on the spirit of the God that they're serving. You know, if that person was a violent person, then the people that are serving that person, that deity, they begin to be violent. They begin to tear up things. You know, if they're serving somebody who was very lustful, now they all go out and they all start having orgies in the name of this God. That's what this is. This is idolatry. This is idolatry that's going on, that has people so whipped up in a frenzy and foaming at the mouth about what they're going to do next. Especially black people. They are looking really, really stupid. Let's go.
Faith. You rely on your faith in hard times. Does your faith allow you to forgive George Zimmerman?
Now, he cannot say anything bad about George Zimmerman or George Zimmerman's parents, because he will be talking about another brother. He's talking about Scottish Rite. He's in Prince Hall. All right, he's a Shriner Freemason. All right, so actually he's a high-level Freemason. So he's not able to say anything bad about him. Watch how he ducks this question.
I think that the forgiveness is like a healing process. Forgiveness takes time. The Bible says that you have to forgive and forget, but also the healing process is a long process, and the forgiving process is a long process.
George Zimmerman's attorneys say he's facing death threats. He's in hiding. Some are comparing his situation right now to Casey Anthony, who was cleared of murder charges for her daughter, who's living in hiding and is an outcast. Do you think that's what the system intends for someone who was acquitted of charges like these?
We don't know about that, but what we do know about the victims. We sit on the victim seat. So is this the intent for the justice system to have for victims? I mean, it's sending a terrible message to other little black and brown boys that you can't walk fast, you can't walk slow. So
that is total bullcrap. You know it. That's why you're rolling your eyes, because you're lying. Talk about, oh, you can't walk fast, you can't walk slow. But if you were really honest, you would say, no, you can't walk fast or slow around black people. How many black people are shooting other black people? Sabrina, stick to the truth. You guys are trying to spin all of this around into something that it's not. You're trying to make everybody think that, oh, black kids are just so afraid. They're just so scared. They don't do anything wrong. Poor black kids there now have a target on their back. And all of the white Hispanics want to shoot them. This is what they want you to believe, people. And you got to be dumbed down to fall for their crap. Got to be dumbed down.
What do they do? I mean, how do you get home without people knowing or either assuming that you're doing something wrong?
Well, you go home. That's how you get home. Okay? And according to the facts of this case, considering that they are true, your son, if he is your son, had enough time to go home. He didn't go home. So if your son came back and started an altercation with someone who had a gun and was beating the person up, and somebody witnessed your son beating them up, and that person was yelling for help, if these yells are real, they probably are not real. I started thinking about the yells. Those yells are extremely loud. And the gunshot is extremely loud. You'd have to be really close to hear the gunshot that close. But anyway, just considering everything is real, okay? How are you going to act as if just because this happened to your son, that is now going to happen to everybody's kid? This is really what they're selling you on, people. You must understand this and call them on their bullcrap. Call the NAACP on their bullcrap. Call Ben Jealous on their bullcrap. Call out all these celebrities that are acting like this is such a big deal, making songs and all this kind of crap, tweeting all this other kind of stuff, wearing T-shirts, Jamie Foxx grandstanding. Call them out on this stuff, people. Logically, not with violence. Don't go down to their level. Because these people are about lawlessness. They want a race war.
Trayvon wasn't doing anything wrong.
She wasn't there. She had kicked him out of the house because of that fight at school. He beat up the kid that had snitched on him. She's aware of it. She says, you caught 10 days because of that, you're going to go live with your dad. This is what has been reported. I don't know if it's true or not. So if you knew that he had a violence problem, how can you look someone in the face and continue to lie to him and say that he was doing nothing wrong? If your son had been shot in the back, then you can say, hey, he was doing nothing wrong. There was no scuffle at all. But if you have a witness, an eyewitness that walked up and saw this happening, then that's your reason why you can say, hey, maybe he was doing something wrong. If you have the other kid that they did not allow to testify in court because his mom did not want to cooperate, saying that he walked up on Trayvon Martin on top of George Zimmerman beating him up, then that's your reason why he was doing something wrong. But she wants to deny that. She wants to deny it. These people are not real. I want you to know that. They are not authentic. They've been put up for this.
Would you like to see federal charges brought against George Zimmerman? Will you file a civil suit against him?
We would like for the federal government to look into it.
All right. So now what he wants are, I think, 4 investigations now. Because he had the police department look into it. He had the Department of Justice look into it. He had the FBI to look into it. And now he wants the federal government to look into it. Do you guys understand what he's saying? Do you guys understand that they are not for peace? They are not for what is right. They are not for justice. This no justice, no peace is the farthest thing from the truth. Farthest. But I know you've been hanging on. You can't wait to hear him say what I said he already said. So let me let him talk and let him tell you.
And weigh all of the options. We just, as as parents, we just feel that there could have been something more done.
Now, what else could be done? Who else needed to investigate it, Tracy? What else did they need to find? They've been over your case with a fine-tooth comb. They told you from the beginning you didn't have a case until you went and concocted a story with Natalie Jackson and Ben Crump and the liar Rachel Gentile. Let me let him talk. He's going to tell you in a second.
And more for you to do.
Definitely. We have a lot of work ahead of us.
Listen to the work that he's going to tell you he's about. Listen carefully to what he says.
We're working diligently with the Trayvon Martin Foundation, a foundation that we've co-founded. And some of the missions of our organization is to mentor, to do scholarships.
All right, now you're going to mentor. You're going to be a mentor when you couldn't keep your own kid from selling drugs, having a gun, getting tattoos, punching people at school, not showing up to school. Are you serious? You want to mentor somebody? Unbelievable.
To educate community.
Educate.
He's on the laws.
He wants to educate people on the laws, but he cares less about the law. He wants his own law. He wants to supersede the police department. He wants to supersede the FBI. He wants to supersede the courts. And he wants to be judge and jury. He wants to be the king. He wants everybody to say, hey, if Tracy Martin says it's legal, hey, all right, it's legal, man. I got permission from Tracy. And if Sabrina Fulton says it's legal, all right, we got her blessing. That's all we need. We don't need the courts. What do we need them for? This is what they're saying to you. But let me stop talking because I promised you that I was going to tell you and show you what he is for. Let's go.
And to advocate for senseless violence. Yeah.
He did not stutter. I did not create that. Tracy Martin says that he wants to advocate for senseless violence. Freudian slip, that it may be, but you heard it from the man's mouth. All of the black on white violence that has occurred in the name of his son, if that's his name, he just told you after the verdict, 17 months later, he says that he wants to be an advocate for senseless violence.
I'm trying to make sure that even though we can't, nothing we can say or do get Trayvon back, maybe we can help someone else not lose their child.
Well, thank you all for being here this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
People, this is a snow job. This is a hoax. They're perpetuating this on the American people to perpetuate a race war. They want riots. They want unrest. They want all celebrities to participate to support this agenda. They want people with common sense arguing with people who are foolish. That's the agenda. You heard it for yourself.